Welcome back to my channel. This is Coach DC from All 22 Films. This morning I've got a film study look at Trenton Simpson, the Baltimore Ravens' fourth-year inside linebacker. Some would refer to it as a make-or-break season for him. The first year under head coach Jesse Minter and Anthony Weaver as defensive coordinator. If you take a look at the 2025 film, which is what we're going to do here, it was actually kind of fascinating as far as Simpson goes. He spent large chunks of time, 7 weeks in fact, rarely getting on the field at all. But when he was out there, you saw glimpses of what he can be, what he is, an athlete, a chess piece that Minter and Weaver can move around on a snap-by-snap basis as they see fit. We're going to start off here with 2 third downs and how Zach Orr and the previous defensive staff utilized him, in particular once Teddy Buchanan was injured and out for the rest of the season. This is a 3+1 spy look. And what I mean by that is you've got 3 pass rushers for the Ravens actually trying to get to the quarterback. The spy or the +1 is Simpson here, but it's a zone structure behind it, down inside the red zone, where the space is already constricted. And they're trying to leave Malik Willis no passing lane at all to be able to access an eligible receiver. Willis had, terrorized the Ravens that game, through the air, throwing the football, keeping it on option plays. He really just toyed with Baltimore's defense. I'm going to switch between views for multiple reasons. Oftentimes it's to illustrate certain things for you in the middle of the play, but in addition, it's to help me out as far as being able to present content to you guys consistently. You get a really great angle view here from the end zone, the structure of what Baltimore is doing. It's a 3+1. They had stolen this really from Detroit, who used it a ton against Baltimore and Lamar Jackson in a Week 3 win in Baltimore. I kind of wish we had used this scheme against Mahomes in 2023. And what I mean by that is a dedicated spy, someone who's athletic enough to go get the quarterback when he does leave the pocket. But in this case, it's a guy who has inside linebacker toughness and size and strength, along with the lateral movement ability and the closing speed to actually make the tackle. You can see that if he doesn't make this tackle here, there's an opportunity for Willis, going downhill to try to juke this defender here, which I think is a woozy. I could be wrong. The point being is, this is the type of thing that the previous staff saw as the best usage for Trenton Simpson. I think he's capable of more, and that's what I'll show you throughout the course of this video. This is great usage, however, don't get me wrong. It's the type of thing that he can do on third downs in particular, be that hybrid type player. And that's the defensive structure that Jesse Minter and Anthony Weaver want. First, reflecting on Minter's defense with the Chargers. Dalen Henley was the dedicated will linebacker, which means set to the boundary. That's the position that Trenton Simpson and Teddy Buchanan will be in a battle for in training camp. And now that's presuming that Buchanan is actually healthy and ready to go and doesn't end up on the PUP list or something like that. I think that it's a situationally prepared group that we're going to see, drastically different from 2025 as far as the coaching staffs getting these guys ready for each individual situation, but also the versatility, the multiple looks that Minter and Weaver are certainly going to throw out there. And I think that's where Simpson's unique abilities really could give him an opportunity to get on the field more consistently than we saw last season on a week-by-week basis. Now, this is a conceptually similar usage, even though A, this is not a third down. It's a 1st and 10, and then B, it's also against the Bengals in 2024. So the defensive structure was different as far as some of the guys that we had on the field. Now, the usage here is what I want to focus on. This is a boundary side blitz by Simpson. This is, of course, the game that we won 41-38, I believe, in overtime. Like I said, it's a 1st and 10. The 3 rushers are here, here, and here. They're going to drop Ojabo to the field. I will give you the all-22 angle of it. The ball's not precisely on the hash. It's tucked just inside of it. Minter specializes in these types of blitzes. It's a Mike McDonald, Jesse Minter staple, if you ask me, which is a variable 4-man rush scheme. And I'll come back and talk about Simpson and the swim move that he's using. Essentially, safe blitzes. It's what Seattle and Mike McDonald and Aiden Durday used a ton of in 2025. A variable 4-man rush that possibly schemes up or designs a particular matchup. In this case, it's Trenton Simpson matched up against a left guard who doesn't have the athleticism to be able to handle him. I also think that Simpson's got something a little bit unique, and you'll see it a couple of times in this video, the ability to put his foot in the ground, get his cleats in the ground, and have great play strength, but be able to move laterally despite contact. And in this case, it ends up in a quarterback hit on Joe Burrow. It's the ankle strength and the hips to change direction. And he kind of overlaps Madubuike here, who's obviously going to be a big factor. His health, I should say, is going to be a big factor in 2026 as well. Let me give you the all-22 of this one completely. There's Simpson down into the boundary. Ojabo as the field side outside linebacker edge defender. He's got to read, run, or pass, and then react accordingly. If it's an empty formation, so there is no run. We know Joe Burrow's not going to run QB sneak or quarterback sweep. But once he reads the play, he's got to jump out into the field side flats. Normally that's accomplished with the boundary side outside linebacker. And the reason I mention that is because if you have an OLB set to the field who can do this, then it kind of opens up this possibility. It almost kind of unlocks that boundary side player, if you will, as an inside linebacker / will defender on 1st and 10. Teams sometimes try to scheme things up from a personnel standpoint on 1st and 10 and then go empty like Cincinnati is here. From a coverage standpoint, it's kind of interesting or unique. Because they've dropped Ojabo, the edge defender, to the field, we've got 5 over 3 to the field. 3 eligible defenders for the Bengals, and then 5 defenders to that side. But we're playing man down here, so it's 2-on-2 into the boundary, and we've overloaded the field from a 5-on-3 standpoint. Really nice move from Simpson to get that win by using the swim against the left guard. This is the type of usage, this one and the previous one, the spy against the Packers, that at minimum Simpson can do in 2026. We'll do 2 more of these from later in the season, Week 11 against the Browns of 2025. We overwhelmed Cleveland's offensive line. The mug looks like this, especially on 3rd downs, really gave their offensive line trouble, regardless of who the quarterback was in the backfield, even dating back to the early season win in Baltimore. It's a mug look. We're going to drop 4 to the field. We're going to drop all 4 of these guys here to the field, out in coverage. And then Simpson's going to be one of the rushers. But this is this play in particular I chose to illustrate his ability to adapt during the play. It's a unique, or interesting, I should say, rush plan from Baltimore. So we've got Van Noy, Simpson kind of crashing from one side, and we're obviously trying to isolate Hamilton against the running back. In this case, Hamilton ends up upfield. Van Noy unable to finish the sack of Gabriel. I think Roquan takes a really poor angle here to me as the quarterback is, trying to escape. Roquan ends up kind of on the inside hip instead of taking an outside leverage angle and forcing Gabriel back to his help. But notice the burst, the ability to finish off the play from Simpson. This shows up often in 2024, 2025, not as much in 2023. He didn't get on the field a whole lot then, in my opinion. I like the rush plan. It's a left-handed quarterback bringing our best athlete off his throwing side. I'm talking about Hamilton, and then having an athletic guy with burst and finishing ability in a Simpson to be able to chase down the quarterback if he escapes. I will say this, I think I'd like to see less 3+1 style rushes and more generic 4 defensive linemen on the field trying to get after the quarterback. So here's Van Noy, Travis Jones, and Mike Green is just off screen to you guys left. You can see him at the 9 o'clock position. And we've got Simpson and Roquan Smith walked up as the inside linebackers. Even though Teddy Buchanan wasn't injured at this point, he didn't get hurt until week 15. He's not a guy that was on the field on 3rd downs in 2025, and I wouldn't anticipate him being extremely reliable from a coverage standpoint. He just doesn't have the versatility at all of some of the other guys on our team, including Trenton Simpson. In any case, it is a 4-man stunt up front. Simpson's going to loop around, but I don't necessarily have this line drawn accurately. The ball is going to be thrown from Dylan Gabriel. He gets this off. Simpson hits him a little bit late or after the throw is the way I should phrase it. Simpson might be stepping a little too far. I feel like he can sometimes drift a little bit, either in pass coverage or with his steps. And I think he's, I don't want to say late necessarily at the end of the play here or the end of the throw, but I think he's not there, so to speak, at this point in time because earlier he hedged so far over here before looping back around. That's where that yellow line I drew at the beginning wasn't necessarily accurate because he steps off the midline to our left on the screen and then loops all the way around. He's trying to set up the pick from Travis Jones, and it works. Don't get me wrong. He's a clean rusher off the edge. He's just a step and a half slow at the end because he's a half a stepping to the side in the beginning of the snap. Probably the design of the play, in my opinion. It still made him late on the loop. Let's get to some film of him against the run. Now, we're going to show actually 2 consecutive plays here against the Patriots in Week 16, the first quarter. I think it actually ends in the interception. This possession, ends with the interception by Marlon Humphrey. There can be some inconsistencies in his run reactions. This is a really nice play, however, with the ball in the middle of the field. So the ball is in the middle of the field, illustrated by this blue line. Simpson's the will linebacker. In this case, we've walked up Starks as the nickel to the field side of our defense, even though the ball was in the middle. It's a weird scheme by New England. Not really a read by the quarterback at all. They're trying to make it look like one. There's no real mesh between Drake May and the first running back at all. This is designed to get to the outside. And I'll show you the all-22 angle here in a moment. It's a gap exchange by Tavius Robinson and Simpson. Simpson does this quickly and cleanly multiple times on film. So what we're talking about is the way they're lined up initially. Robinson is obviously further to our left than Simpson is. But then they exchange it. They switch roles. Robinson goes down the line of scrimmage to presumably attack the sift block or the hide concept by the tight end into the flats, and Simpson folds over the top. It's a really nice play. And when you get the all-22 angle, you'll probably appreciate it a little bit more. Like I said, no real mesh from a fake standpoint, but it's a too high safety. It's a too high safety look to Simpson's side of the field. Not necessarily that there's 2 safeties, meaning one guy here and one guy there. But to Simpson's side, he doesn't have a direct support force player walked up like you see here with Kyle Hamilton. In any case, you can see what we're dealing with. The wide receiver runs us off down at the bottom of the screen against Marlon. Tavius Robinson goes down the line of scrimmage. He's just reading the block or the release of the right tackle, Morgan Moses. So he's trying to get enough of a piece of this tight end to prevent that tight end from looping around in front of Simpson and being an additional blocker. A little bit similar to our dual read option play, except here Drake May's not reading anything at all. As far as Simpson goes, this is the lateral movement, I think, on display. The ability to move side to side, but staying square to the line of scrimmage. There'll be some things that I talk about here comparing Simpson and Buchanan, different players, 2 guys that I think the defensive staff should use, not interchangeably, but at different times in 2026. There are some separators, in my opinion. Buchanan, more physical downhill. He's more of a downhill right now guy against the run. Probably also stronger taking on blockers, whether it's in the run or the pass. Is probably a little bit stronger physically overall. But the lateral movement is a really wide gap between these 2 guys. I'm not talking about speed in a straight line. I'm talking about the ability to move side to side, like you see here from Simpson, but still stay square to the line of scrimmage and track the running back with no safety help to the outside while shedding a blocker in the form of the tight end. I really am in the middle of trying to talk about some of his run defense. However, since this is the very next snap, I'm going to include this. This is a pass coverage, 2nd and 13. After that tackle for loss, like I just showed you on the kind of fake read option look. He gets credit for a sack here, Trenton Simpson, but it's not really the focus of what I'm going to talk about in my analysis here. It's the pass coverage drop on a curl flat concept into the boundary. He's got the hook drop, so he's going to be inside of this curl. Marlon is going to take the flats. We really are playing quarter, half here, essentially what most people refer to as a cover 6. So Drake May's looking to the top of the field, away from Trenton Simpson initially. One of the things I really like about Simpson in pass coverage when he's in zone is he does a nice job of, some people call it sneak a peek, ping pong eyes, whatever. His helmet is a little bit obscured for you guys probably by that nameplate. My apologies for that, but he does look at the receiver. So it's a zone concept over here, but he's not just staring at the quarterback. It's one of my pet peeves because a lot of these NFL second-level defenders, whether it's linebackers or safeties, if they're playing zone and they're just staring at the quarterback looks away from them, they'll drift to the side, oftentimes a little bit too much, and put themselves out of position if the quarterback comes back to the other side. And my point in bringing all of that up, I know that it's possible for some people to say, you're criticizing the way they teach zone drops in the NFL. Yeah, it's a 4-man rush. So if it's a 5-man rush, the ball is probably going to be out sooner because of how many players we're bringing. A 4-man rush, quarterback presumably could have time to come back to our side. We shouldn't drift as much. There's an awareness difference there, whether it's a 4 or a 5-man rush on each individual play. In any case, you've got 4 over 3 to the top side of the screen, 4 Ravens defenders over 3 eligible receivers, and then 3 over 2 to the bottom side. Like I said, Simpson gets credit for a sack here. Not really my focus he's awarded something statistical, great. I'm talking about his drop and how he does so in a different manner than some other inside linebackers. I like the fact that he uses his eyes to get in the correct position, number one. Doesn't drift, and at least in this case, as much as other guys do. Even though at times in his pass drops, he can be inconsistent. They're asked to play so many coverages, at the NFL level. I just felt like these 2 plays were a great example of what he can do when he's at his best, right? I do speculate that if you were to compare Buchanan and Simpson, what they're better at, I wonder if Simpson's better defending spread-style offenses, where the quarterback's going to be in the shotgun. Maybe you've got some zone read stuff because of his versatility and I think he's got superior lateral movement. I wonder if he wouldn't be better against spread teams versus Buchanan being more of a downhill run guy. The problem against heavy run personnel teams, the problem there is that play action, Buchanan's not a change of direction guy either. So, he does tend to come forward really quickly, which is a positive if it's a run play, but against play action, sometimes he can open up a bigger lane for the quarterback to throw over the second level of the defense. All right, a couple more run concepts here to focus on, then we'll finish it up with pass coverage. It's a really nice read here. Simpson's going to be unblocked, however, to the football. He's a boundary side inside linebacker, so that's oftentimes going to be the case. It's a down sweep concept, what I refer to as down sweep. So the boundary side guard, in this case the left guard, and the center are both pulling. The running back set up to the field is going to cross the face of the quarterback. And the scheme, the idea is that you're kicking someone out and then wrapping the second blocker underneath. The difference here, or the problem for the Packers is we've got a 6 technique, so we don't have a 9 technique outside linebacker, out here in the form of Ojabo. Ojabo's head up on the tight end. So we refer to that as a 6 technique. Head up numbers are typically even, 0, 2, 4, 6. 6 in this case is head up on the tight end. So because Ojabo is in a 6 technique and takes a spill mentality, Simpson's going to scrape over the top. Obviously, Simpson's more effective when he's unblocked. Again, to compare him versus Buchanan, I think Buchanan, at the stage in his career that we saw him last year as a rookie, better at shedding blocks against the run coming downhill than Simpson was at that same point in time. Unblocked here, Simpson pretty clean to the football. I don't think either one of those guys is a savant at block destruction, because sometimes I feel like Buchanan and Simpson almost end up on the wrong side. But Ojabo actually does a really nice job here of spinning back and getting involved in the play. But I want to point this out one more time as far as Simpson goes. The footing on that field in Green Bay that night wasn't fantastic. I seem to remember multiple guys slipping, and Simpson kind of does here. But this is something he's pretty good at being able to keep his cleats in the ground, plant his foot, and then push off and burst back in the other direction, whether it's to turn and run, or in this case, to be the first guy making contact on the running back field. He's a pretty good play. The usage of Simpson as a boundary side inside. He's a will. He's not a Mike linebacker at all. Roquan is a Mike. Buchanan probably better suited to be a Mike, but they deployed him as a will linebacker last year. Another run play into the boundary, which is where Simpson is deployed. We're going back to 2024 for this one. Thought he played quite well against the Bucs in Week 7 that year. It's an 11 personnel direct flow run concept. Of course, his number changed. He was 23 during that season. The Bucks are going to kind of fold block this, and I'll maybe diagram that up once we get to the end zone angle. They determined that they're going to block the boundary side corner, Brandon Stevens, and the boundary side safety, I think it's Marcus Williams, but they don't block Simpson at all. So again, he's clean, able to scrape over the top of some of the trash and fit this up pretty easily, along with Odafe Owe. He's in year 4, man. It's make or break for Simpson. Does he need to make 100 tackles, 110 tackles? No. I think he'll be better against the run. In year 4, he's got a great opportunity, man, with Weaver and Minter as two experienced guys who have a history of making players around them perform better. So the fold scheme that I'm talking about is they're going to release the tight end up to the safety and then step the tackle out to the edge defender, as opposed to some type of combo between the two of them or the tight end trying to handle the edge defender solo. But in any case, Simpson does a really nice job, I think, at times of tracking the running back's path, matching it. And here you can see him stopping and holding so he can take a peek and make sure the running back's not trying to cut downhill into this lane. Essentially, he can't leave too fast. He's matching it. I feel like Simpson's got pretty good vision, to be honest with you. When he understands where his fit's supposed to be, he matches the running back's path. Does a nice job of staying balanced, in my opinion. Like I said, the vision is something that I think shows up. I went back to some 2024 film here for some of the run stuff. He sat for long stretches at a time in 2025. Basically, his biggest opportunities to get on the field occurred when either Roquan Smith or Teddy Buchanan was injured. As far as run fits go, there were some inconsistent ones that I didn't include in this video. I think I ended up with 13 plays here, so I feel like I'm really pushing it as far as holding guys' attention and not beating a dead horse too much. So it does seem quite obvious to me that evaluating certain players under Zach Orr is a little faulty or difficult to process to complete. Let's put it that way. Minicamp, I think, had to have been imperative for Simpson, not just Simpson, but other guys like Adisa Isaac as well, to get some experience with the terminology. This is a really nice play in 2024. It's cover 3. The depth is going to look unusual, but I offer to you that there's a reason for it. And that reason is that it's Jamar Chase in motion. So this is going to end up being, I would consider it a cover 3. You do have a later developing in cut. It's actually a little bit deeper than that by T. Higgins. And I think Burrow's looking there in the middle. Initially, maybe we quote tricked them or played a different coverage than those guys were expecting. So Burrow really quick is going to come back down to the bottom side of the screen. I'm going to do this consistently in 2026, where when I'm talking about the coverage and where the quarterback goes with the ball, try to interject the end zone angle to literally show you the helmet path or where the quarterback's helmet is looking. I'm doing that to try to offer more a deeper level of understanding for myself and for you. So you have to let me know if you guys like that or not. But anyway, case it's cover 3, and you got guys at different depths. Hamilton is closer, more shallow, I guess, is one way to describe it. Higgins moving across the field, and so Burrow doesn't have that. Real quickly goes into the flats. This is a beautiful tackle by Simpson. I'll give you the L22 angle of it in a moment. It happens faster as far as Burrow's progression than you guys are seeing. There's obvious reasons why I have to pause it. It's a very low, violent tackle by Simpson. I love that. If there was more space between these guys when the ball is thrown, I'm talking about Simpson and Chase, then of course Chase, stands to reason. He would probably make Simpson miss and be able to get some yards after the catch. It's a broken nature of a cover 3. It's 3 deep. And then 4 under coverage. I wonder if Buchanan and Simpson aren't both better in zone. Something that I believe I've seen, and this is 2024 film, but across 24 and 25, is that Simpson has better awareness of route combinations, number one, and number two, who the players are that he's defending in zone than Buchanan does. Of course, Buchanan only been around 1 year in the Ravens system under Zach Orr, totally different a level of instruction and preparation. I think this is a great play, and I'm using it to illustrate A, his awareness, and B, talk about These are the types of close downs that we don't see from Buchanan in zone coverage set into the boundary. I think I've got 3, maybe 4 plays here from the game, the home loss against the Rams, 17-3. This is a 1st and 10. I'm going to have actually 2 similar plays in a row as far as the Rams go, what they're running, and how Baltimore is responding. So Simpson's walked up as an edge defender. We've kind of created this like 6-1 look, if you will, from our nickel structure. 2 high safeties, Gilman and Starks. They're in a 2-by-2 set, meaning there's 2 receivers to the right, 2 receivers to the left. One thing Simpson does really well when he's asked to drop out from an edge defender position is he's physical with routes. So the way that you would do this, jam 2, play through 2 to 1, and that's what he does here. It's Puka Nacua. His route is illustrated by that yellow line, kind of a deeper in cut. And then Devontae Adams, both of those guys set into the boundary. It's like, surprise, surprise, that's where the ball's going. And you put your 2 best receivers into the boundary. This ends up being a strip sack for Jenkins. I just really like the way that Simpson plays some of this stuff as far as jamming or disrupting or rerouting anyone, because that occurs so infrequently at the NFL level. It's kind of maddening. Like I said, this is a strip sack from Jenkins. I will show you 2 other coverage snaps against the Rams. Going to switch to the end zone angle here real quick. You guys see Simpson off the right side. How closely Nacua is lined up, number 1. Number 2, it's into the boundary. The tight end is set to the field. A really clear indicator that, what are they going to do? They're going to run over here behind their 2 receivers. I know they use Nacua to block a lot. Typically they do that, and they have him in motion. That's not what occurs here. No play action, no mesh with the running back at all. Simpson does a real good job generally of getting a piece of receivers coming through his zone, especially when he's lined up at an edge defender spot. And like I said, I'm going to do this on some pass plays, show the end zone angle intentionally. You do get Stafford trying to come back across the field. I think it's 88 that he's possibly trying to get the ball to underneath, and Jenkins gets the strip sack. Defense played obviously really motivated that day. I love the jam, I'll be honest with you. Rerouting, disrupting receivers. The outside of the tendencies that the Rams have when they're under center, depending on where receivers are located, it's the ability to throw off timing a little bit that I think matters, and it's really used very infrequently at the end zone at the NFL level. Excuse me. From the end zone angle, you didn't necessarily see it, but you can see the way the route is developing here for Adams to throw behind Simpson and possibly underneath of Buchanan. Buchanan's obviously tracking Stafford's eyes and drifting or hedging to that side a little bit. I'll come back to this one in a moment. It's a quarter, half, cover 6 like I talked about. Recall there was no Roquan this game, so you had Buchanan and Simpson on the field at the same time. To me, Buchanan is a Mike. If there was going to be a time when we either A, didn't have Roquan, like 2027 or beyond, or B, he was going to be injured, these are the best 2 spots for these players individually. I don't think Simpson is a Mike. I don't think Buchanan is a Will. Very similar structure here as far as the formation. Nacua and Adams on the same side. In addition, the way the Ravens play it with Trenton Simpson. Now, the coverage structure is different. I'll give you the all-22 angle, but first we're going to start with the end zone. This is a 3rd and 3. I think this is the first possession of the third quarter. Like I said, 3rd and 3. They get the conversion. It's a completion to Adams underneath. Ravens are going to drop out both OLBs. In this case, it's Simpson off the left side of our screen and Van Noy off the right side. Tavius Robinson is clearly an edge defender, but in this case, they've kicked him down to a 4-eye. He's capable of playing that because of his size and strength and aggression. I'm going to give you both angles of this one. Buchanan is blitzing, so it creates a 4-man rush. You guys don't see it here because, we're zoomed in some. But Simpson does the same thing with Nacua. He jams him, but Nakua's route takes him a little bit wider, and that, in turn, has Simpson widen up a little bit, and also he kind of slips. It's the same route combo as the Jenkins strip sack. This is the same play from the all-22 angle. Again, you've got their best two receivers on the same side in the form of Nakua and Adams. Like surprise, surprise, it's where the football's going on a 3rd and 3, but it's into the boundary, same setup. The difference is that the Ravens are going to really radically change their shape from a coverage standpoint. They switched this to a Tampa 2. I'll diagram it in a moment. Basically, they have taken Hamilton and Starks and dropped them both down, kind of trying to make it look like man. But, I mean, come on. We're going to leave Starks one-on-one with Nakua, so I think Stafford had a pretty good idea that this was not actually going to be man coverage. Simpson, you can see, getting another jam. But NFL, it's a give and take, at that level of any sport, but especially the NFL level. If you do something enough times, teams are going to try to exploit it. In this case, Nakua A widens his route a little bit more than the last time Simpson jammed him. And that, in turn, widens Simpson up. In addition, he kind of slips or drifts a little bit, and that allows Adams to get the catch, get enough space underneath. Look at the depth, the differential. The line to gain is the -45, and so Van Noy is just at that line. Humphrey up top, Wiggins down bottom are 2 to 3 yards off. Simpson's drifted a little bit too far. You can see his left foot actually ends up back 6 yards past the line to gain, so he's just ended up too deep. I think part of that is influenced by the route release of Puka Nakua, number one. Number two, think about it. You're a defender for an NFL team. Puka Nakua oftentimes is their go-to guy on 3rd down, so you want to get a piece of him. You want to disrupt or destroy the structure of what they've designed. So great catch by Adams away from his body, but he had an adequate space to get it done. This is the way that the defense is changing shape here. The two edge defenders, illustrated by the yellow lines, are dropping out. Starks lined up over Nakua at the bottom side of our screen. Like I said, he's going to go to essentially the Mike linebacker position. He's going to run between the hashes with any vertical threat. And then Hamilton and Gilman are going to be the two high safety structure with Wiggins and Marlin in the flats. Simpson does a good job IDing routes, in my opinion, from zone. There's some drift on this particular play. It happens for him and Buchanan at times, and as such, it opens up way too much space for Adams to get open underneath. I think he can play it a little bit better. I think he was influenced a little bit by Nakua's type of route. In any case, it's a great catch by Adams because that was a fastball from Matt Stafford. A few more coverage snaps for me here and to talk about and analyze, and then some final thoughts, at least as far as this video, right? We've got camp to get through and then the preseason. Don't expect to see, obviously, Buchanan play in the preseason, nor Simpson, but who knows? They could put him out there. We certainly have a lot of guys to look at in different positions. This is a weird little play-action pass by the Rams. It's an inconsequential play fake from Stafford, in my opinion. I think it's really just a timing mechanism. Essentially, you've got a slide protection scheme from the Rams, except the backside tackle is kind of locking up on Green, who jumps inside, and then the running back takes the edge, hence the phrase slide protection. We bring Buchanan on a blitz, and I'm going to talk about the usage of these two guys here. This is assuming, full health for Buchanan and Simpson at the same time. But it's a really nice blitz by Buchanan. He attacks the running back, really dumps him back into Stafford's lap, possibly influences the throw. That could be the case here. It's a really nice job of challenging the catch point from Simpson, if you ask me, down here on the bottom side of our screen. Kind of gives us an opportunity, if you ask me, to talk about the differences with these players. So Buchanan might be better as a blitzer in attacking blockers one-on-one than Simpson is. Having said that, I think Simpson is probably better at making moves in this area here if he's confronted by someone in pass pro. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. Think back to the second play that I showed you during the course of this video, where Simpson used the swim move to defeat the left guard for the Bengals. Similarly, as far as this coverage goes here, I don't think Buchanan has the coverage chops to be able to get in on plays like this and get his hands in and challenge at the end of a play. So they're different players with unique skills. I hope, that Mentor and Weaver's plan is to use both of them. All right, I didn't include any negative plays on the run defense section. I just alluded to them or briefly discussed them based on what I've seen. Here I'll present two negatives in the pass coverage section. One against the Packers, and then one that was obviously heavily criticized from a Zach Orr perspective against the Rams. We got guys looking confused here pre-snap, and that happened multiple times in 2025. A little bit of a hurry up from the Packers that could be a factor. We just played very poor defense overall that night in general. Gilman, Simpson, and Hamilton all look confused or unsure, I should say, of what the coverage is going to be. It basically ends up being man down here to the bottom side of the screen where Simpson and Marlon Humphrey are located. Clearly, the running back should catch this football. That's a drop. Like I said, it's 2nd and 9. And we're playing quite obviously a zone structure up to the top side of the screen. So I didn't include any graphics here necessarily to illustrate it, but everyone above or north of that line at the top of the screen is playing zone. These 4 defenders here. In addition, it looks like to me, Gilman, the boundary side safety, is in a 2-high safety alignment. So that looks like Tampa 2. But down here, we've got man. That's not uncommon to play man into the boundary and zone to the field. But, Patrick Queen, 2023 for the Ravens as the will linebacker, played a lot of man inside zone. The boundary side corner, Brandon Stevens, that year played a lot more man than zone. Mike McDonald still uses that structure. Jesse Minter relies on it as well. What bothers me here a little bit, or what bothered me at the time, is this looks like it could be a situation where we called a coverage, Tampa 2, but had maybe an empty check or a motion check, whatever the check could be that the play caller, in this case Zach Orr, wants to include at the end. So you have the coverage that's called Tampa 2, and now Tampa 2 with maybe whatever our man call is to the backside. It could be Maryland or whatever the word is. So that's the coverage call that's given in the huddle with whatever the tag is at the end for a check. Check to motion, check to empty. Now we've got empty, and so it looks to me like players are looking for, hey, are we checking to the empty coverage here, or are we staying with the original call, which was Tampa 2 with man rules to the backside? It's also possible that Simpson just messes this up, right? But he's certainly looking for the coverage or looking for some type of call, and it appears as if he's saying he can't hear any communication from anyone. Maybe it was supposed to come from Roquan. I don't know. I don't necessarily care. I hope we're not going to have those troubles at all. It doesn't seem like miscommunication. It seems like lack of communication right there. But the way the play calls are structured, there's checks that are tagged at the end for motion for certain formations, like empty. In this case, Marlon plays man. Simpson is also playing man, but he's just there in the flats a little too late. This will be the last play that I talk about and analyze, and then some summary thoughts at the end. As frustrating as that previous play was, from the standpoint of guys, not being on the quote same page into the boundary is what the coverage would be, or if it was just Simpson messing up, this is maddening, right? This is the 4th and 2 against the Rams. Early third quarter, the defense had played really inspired football the first 30 minutes. Rams came out, I think, converted 2 third downs to get to this point. I believe Nakua is off the field here. He may have had the injury late second quarter, but I could be wrong there. This ends up being our 2-man rush. Like I said, it's an in-cut from Davante Adams, very similar to what we had seen earlier. The only difference is earlier we had a slot receiver located on the inside of Adams who was running, a deeper in-cut. So he almost had a little bit of a levels concept. That's where Stafford wants to go with the football. Initially, we drop out 2 defenders to the same side, and it's Green and Buchanan. We're talking about these 2 here. I'll diagram it up a little bit from the end zone angle. Stafford, off the snap, once he gets control of the ball, is immediately looking to the bottom side. I'm not sure why. But in any case, looks to the top, chooses not to take that wheel going up the sideline. They're making it look like it's possibly going to be a block here by 18 on the outside corner, bringing this number 1 receiver back. A little bit of a hitch screen, if you will. And then you've got the wheel by 18 on top of it. Looks to me like Starks takes that one away really well. Stafford's going to go to the middle, where he wants to go to the middle to Adams. And to me, it looks like Van Noy gets in the window or gets in his visual field, so Stafford, chooses not to go there. The only two guys that rush, as from a Ravens standpoint, is Travis Jones and Brent Urban. So really confusing. It's got to be a mistake by one or maybe both of these rookies. Buchanan and Green both drop out. Look how they end up in the same area, essentially doing the same thing. They're trying to wall off any short in cut by either Adams or the running back, Kyron Williams, who was over there. This is the angle that Stafford thinks he has. Probably actually does have, in my opinion. There's no reason why he can't shoot this football in there. But Adams is running across, so maybe he feels like he's going to bring him directly into to Van Noy. So chooses not to get rid of the ball. It's a man coverage standpoint, man free, cover one. Simpson, I think, loses focus about right now. Somewhere around the time where it looks like Stafford's possibly going to throw the football, this is man. And for me, I think Simpson loses his man relationship somewhere in this area. Now, these two guys, one of them is wrong. My suspicion is Green was supposed to rush and Buchanan's just looking to wall anyone off. There's the three underneath defenders. So underneath coverage worked, I guess, right? We still have two guys in the same area accomplishing the same task. Simpson's already lost here. It's a great catch from Kyron Williams. Simpson, in addition, gets called for a DPI. I didn't think it was a catch live. Even still, I have to convince myself that, okay, they can't be wrong at this point. I have to be wrong here. It's a brilliant catch from a Kyron Williams standpoint. Whether he gets all of his body or most of his body on the ground to officially complete the catch, I don't know, but it's beautiful stuff as far as the throw from Stafford, the catch from Kyron Williams. One of those situations where if you're Trenton Simpson, obviously you'd like to have this one back so that you don't have to deal with getting beat. But the reality is you don't want your will linebacker having to cover 40 yards down the field for 7 seconds and against any quarterback, let alone Matt Stafford. It's a very unusual play, and like most things, there's more guys at fault than just one. I have a lot of thoughts here about how those two players, Buchanan and Simpson, could be used, not together, not on the field at the same time, but and not interchangeably either. I have no idea about Buchanan's health status at this point. I know that there's been plenty of promotion about how quickly he's recovering. It's still a 17-game season, and we had an injury occur in Week 15 that was an ACL. I hope the overall plan is to use both of these guys, Simpson and Buchanan. They don't have the same skills. They have different strengths and weaknesses. I suspect, maybe I'm hoping for, a more open-minded, adaptable staff on defense specifically that can find the strengths of each guy and play to those strengths. If each player produces in their roles. Simpson has yet to produce truly game-changing plays. But really, do we need him or Buchanan to be that? No, I don't think so. I think we have those players elsewhere on the defense. We need them to be reliable, responsible, adaptable. I would say that Simpson is more versatile than Buchanan. Buchanan is definitely a better run defender from a downhill standpoint. Moving laterally or side to side, I think it's a different comparison. How could they get each one of them involved in a way that's productive from a snaps standpoint, right? It's entirely possible that one or the other guy, wins out. I think Minter, and I went back and watched 2 of his games where I looked at snap counts, and for example, Denzel Perryman, and 43 for them. I forget the guy's name. He's a pretty good football player. Both got on the field on different possessions. The previous regime in Baltimore, Harbaugh, he wasn't going to let certain guys compete. You don't need to look any further than right guard the last 2 years. He actually still is, so completely set on being right there that he went back and signed Falele in New York. My point is, we got both of these guys under contract, Simpson, Buchanan. In the case of Simpson, only for 1 more year. Last year, they got a combined 150 tackles from them together, without them really being on the field together for large stretches for obvious reasons, because we got Roquan Smith. But I want to talk about the stats, what Simpson was able to produce. If you look at his season in the context of the games where he played, 35 snaps or more. Let's talk about the back half of it first. He did have 66 and 50 snaps in consecutive weeks. That's Texans and Rams, week 5 and 6. In those two games, 19 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, 1 sack, 1 pass defense. So pretty productive. 2 weeks later, once Roquan is totally healthy, Simpson's snap count over a six-week period, 34 snaps. So you're talking about 6 snaps per game. Eventually, Buchanan gets hurt in week 15, the ACL. And here's what Simpson does in the last 4 games. 29 tackles, 1 sack, 2 TFLs. Do I think that Simpson is a Pro Bowl guy like Queen was in his final year? No, I don't. I don't think we necessarily need that. How he would make or generate game-changing plays, punching the football out. He definitely is a guy who tries to do that some. He has the athleticism to fit in this defensive structure as a will linebacker into the boundary who is oftentimes asked to play man coverage. We may rely more on zone, especially if Buchanan's on the field, because he's a zone coverage guy. I'm not saying he's really tremendously technical with that either, but nor is he a man coverage player. Simpson can drop out as an edge defender to jam too. His run defense, as a traditional inside linebacker, will be the biggest determining factor for him. Got all the talent, the skill. He appears to have the desires, got great pursuit, plays hard. Minter and Weaver, man, they look like the perfect combo to get more out of certain players, like Simpson, maybe even Buchanan, than those players would be expected to produce for other coaches. I will say this. If you look at what Simpson did in the 7 games where he played 35 snaps or more, okay, so Texans, Rams earlier in the season, week 5 and 6, and then week 16, 17, 18, and I believe 15 he played more than 35 snaps as well. So in those 7 games, 35 snaps or more in each case, 53 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs, 2 quarterback hits. If you double that in 14 games, presumably, if he had the same opportunity and could continue that level of production, if you double that, you're talking about 100 tackles, 4 sacks, 6 TFLs, and 4 quarterback hits. That's the same or more production than Buchanan had across, all statistical categories in his 15 games before injury. I offer to you that it's a good thing. We've got 2 guys to compete for one spot, the will linebacker, and we finally, hopefully, have a coaching staff that's willing to just stand off on the side and let 2 young players battle it out. I'm looking forward to seeing how it shakes out. We're not going to get any answers during the preseason, maybe not even camp as far as Buchanan goes. I'm glad we have both of these guys. I hope Minter and Weaver find the best usage for each and can integrate them into the defense, because 17 games is a long season, number one. And related to that, number 2, is the fact that players get hurt, and if we did have to have Simpson come in for Buchanan or have Buchanan come in for Simpson in week 8 or week 10 or week 12, if those guys have been playing 15 or 18 snaps each game leading up to that, then they would probably feel more prepared. You're more than welcome to let me know what your opinion of Simpson and or Buchanan is in the comment section. And the film that I used to produce this video and try to make my points about what I think of Trenton Simpson as he heads into year 4. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at him as well as my commentary, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.